Okay. Okay, so we're definitely gonna be starting off this conversation with introductions, since we don't know each other, but I mean, some of us may know each other, but not all of us. But I do want to introduce what Verge is before Nadia gets into the conversation, and also how we all came into this together. Okay, so we're definitely gonna be starting off this conversation with introduction. Excuse me, the website was on at the same time. I was like, I didn't take that off. But anyway, yes, my name is Reg Zahner, they, them pronouns. I am one of the co-founders of Verge FM, which is a community internet radio station based out of Columbus, Ohio, that started in January of 2021. Right now, we have over 100 hosts that we air monthly. I don't know the total numbers of people that we actually have been in community with. And outside of the radio, we have done a lot of events in terms of DJ workshops and open decks and smaller parties to promote the dance music scene in Columbus, Ohio. And based from there, we kind of came into this project together thinking about, oh, what about other dance parties and scenes in other cities? How do we connect with other people? And especially Black people, but that's because I'm Black. But outside of the conversation of that, with Nadia, she did present a really cool idea of having these discussions and what does that mean as people in this industry or in this community, and what is this community? You know, a lot of people make jokes about it, but I guess let's actually have a conversation about that. So now, gonna go straight to Nadia in terms of DJ Social Club, and as well, I'm DJ Love Hire. I forgot to say that I'm a DJ curator, but it's not about me, so.
Thanks, Reg. Actually, Lou, do you want to say hi real fast?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lou. I'm another Verge co-founder. I DJ sometimes, and I help run the radio. And I'm really excited for this conversation. I feel like we are going to learn a lot, and also just maybe like uncover some really interesting stuff. But yeah, I'm going to be quiet, moderating the YouTube chat and making sure that everything's good over there, and like gathering questions and stuff. But yeah, hi, good to meet you all.
Thanks. And I'm Nadia Ayad. I'm based in Brooklyn, but I'm from Ohio. Grew up in Toledo, but we all met in Columbus, and another co-founder of Verge. And yeah, just some more background. Reg actually gave a pretty good background on what we're doing, but we wanted to add the DJ Social Club programming this summer because one of the main reasons we all started a radio station in Columbus is because we didn't really feel like there were resources for people who were up and coming, learning how to DJ, stuff like that. And while the actual workshops have been great, like showing people how to do stuff, there's also like a lot of social questions people have. And like, we're basically trying to just create some resources for people in our community that feel like they don't have access to a network of DJs in other cities. So yeah, we're really excited to have you three here as our first guests, and would love for you each to give a really brief intro of who you are, where you live, what you're working on right now, and then we'll go into like history. So I think our chat is set up Jada, MANIIA, Black Moonchild, so we'll just go in that order for most of the questions, and till later we can be more casual. But yeah, Jada, if you want to kick off an introduction.
Sure. My name is Jada. I also go by JADALAREIGN. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm also from New York. Originally, I am a DJ. I also produce, and I am a booker at a club called Nowadays in Brooklyn as well.
Cool. All right, I guess I'll go next. I didn't know that was all right. Yeah, well, my name's Montez. I'm based out of Nashville. I am affiliated with our group Terminal 8 here. We're a collective label, event throwing type of organization. And yeah, I DJ, produce as well.
Well, I'm Janisa. I also go by DJ Black Moonchild. I'm based in Detroit. Currently, I co-host the party with my best friend, AK, who told me to tell you guys that she is happy that you all allowed her to be in this space. I will be here in her presence. So we currently co-host the party along with my friend Crystal, and we throw it every other month called The Blueprint. Yeah, I DJ, I produce, and a slew of other things. So that's me.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, so another level of detail about your introductions. How did you each get started with DJing/producing? And if you want to like just give a little brief story, 3 to 5 minutes, whatever you want to do. Yeah, how'd you get started? A little tidbit, like a first gig or whatever, a little story, background on that. Jada?
Sure. So back in around 2012, I was acting as a music director for a blog called Strawberry Blunt. It was when blogging was like really big. And yeah, I was interviewing artists and doing write-ups and things of that nature. And I always had a musical background. I come from a musical family. But it was around that time that I kind of just like tried out DJing just like on a whim one day just for fun. And I ended up really enjoying it. And yeah, it kind of grew from there. In terms of production, I started, I want to say 2017, really. And that kind of just came from, just a genuine curiosity about, how to make my own music. Naturally, as music lovers, it's just something that we all grow curious about at a point. But yeah, kind of self-taught in both disciplines. And yeah, so I've been DJing a bit longer, but yeah, that's how I got started.
Thanks.
Cool,
What about you, Mania? Or should I call you Mania or Montez? Like, are we going by
you can call me either. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
cool.
Yeah.
I'll call you Montez.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I got my start with like everything musically. I was always a band kid. I was in performing band for 8 years and marching band for 4 years. I was a percussionist, played drums. It's not till like I got to like high school when a lot of my friends were like rappers and a lot of them like also like produce beats, stuff like that. So they needed a DJ. So I started even like experimenting, got my own little controller, DJing for them and stuff. And they were really probably my foot in the door as in terms of like doing shows with them, and then like me finding out about other people that were just doing just like sets where they got to just play music and not just DJ for people, that kind of stuff. And then that bled into where I am now. I'm 25 now. I started like when I was around like 17, but that bled into where I am now. As far as like production goes, I didn't really take production seriously till I was like 20, 21. But that just came from like I already had friends that had did it longer than me, so it was just a matter of when I was going to start doing that. And yeah, but yeah, I've been DJing, band experience, production, stuff like that. Yeah, that's it.
Sweet. I love to hear someone else is a band kid, because I was a band kid in elementary, middle school. Band was my life. I was such a dorky band kid that I got picked by the high school, like in my neighborhood, to be in the high school marching band. It was a big deal back then. But yeah, I started off in band. I played trumpet and flute. After that, I was a senior in high school in like 2015. I started making beats on GarageBand just on my phone. And like I would post them on SoundCloud and things like that. They're all really bad. You could probably still listen to some of them. They're still up there. And then after that, I was just producing. At first, I just wanted to like make beats for people. That was my thing. But a lot of my friends would always tell me like, oh, Janice, I love riding in the car with you because you play the best music or whatever. So my homegirl asked me to make a playlist for one of her parties that she was having, just to make a playlist, just to be in control of the music. And I just went ahead and bought a mixer. It was probably the worst DJ set I've done, but people really liked my song selections. And so people started asking me after that, like, oh, can you play my party? Can you do my party? And so it just kind of happened from there. It was like word of mouth. People started telling people, oh, I know this girl, she's fire with music. And it just kind of went that way. But I started off as a producer first, let's say.
That's awesome. Thank you all. I know, I think everyone kind of has this like, everyone's story is a little different, but everyone just has this moment where they're just like, I'm going to do it. And then they just like start DJing. And I just always tell people that ask me who don't, and they're just like, should I do it? I think people feel corny about it. It's just like, just try it. It's just a skill. If you love music, it's a skill that you should learn, and it's really fun. So thanks for sharing, everyone.
Also, I want to add, I was in the orchestra. I was in a band.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
What instrument? I see everyone's multi-talented in this call.
I played the bass, the acoustic bass.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did piano for a little bit also, but yeah.
Yeah, I was also in band. I played the trumpet. So it's just like, shout out to band.
Oh yeah, no, band's important. But band and slick gave structure in my life, if I'm being real.
Yes.
So
band teaches you how to count. Like some of them.
Yeah.
True, yeah. And I think that goes so much into like how to like really DJ. I didn't start DJing until the pandemic because I'm senior year of college, and then it happened, and then I was just like, man, I have no life possibilities. I'm depressed. And then I just had virtual DJ, and that's kind of what happened. And kind of like from there, it became the radio, and then became some parties, and talking about party series now, going to our other question about scenes. And this is a kind of like multi-pack question. So I'm going to break it down because we're not going to try to like bam, bam, bam. We're going to have some conversations. So y'all belong to all like different types of scenes. What are some of the changes or some of the things that you've seen since coming out of COVID in your current community and your current scene? And as well, is it in terms of these different changes, have they become better or worse? And as well, this question has led into like further ideas about what is collaboration and what does that mean in your scene? So kind of like giving us the context and the environment y'all are working in, and then kind of like thinking about how do you think about your involvement and in collaboration and the ways you navigate in terms of that environment, whether that's good or bad. But, we're here to listen. I have ears. I want to listen to y'all. So let's go. And we can go in the order that Nadia said, or whoever feels like they want to go first, they can go first. Or if you want to like throw the question at us, we also can do that too. So it's all up for grabs.
I'm happy to jump in there. I'll say since I don't want to say tail end of the pandemic, but since things have started opening back up, it feels like there's been a bit of a reset on the scene. And it almost feels a bit more like decentralized in a sense where there feels like a lot more opportunity, especially for marginalized groups, which has been really nice to see. And as a result, I feel that a lot more POC and queer DJs have been thriving in New York, and just gaining access to spaces that they may not necessarily have had access to before. For example, I see it in the clubs, and I see it in radio as well, like the Lot Radio. And some of the other underground stations in New York. And I've also noticed, and this may or may not be connected, but an increase in collaboration amongst the scene, which has been really nice to see because it feels a bit like there's a renaissance happening where there's just like a plethora of POC and queer artists that are thriving, that are getting their due shine, that are getting those opportunities that they deserve. And it feels like there's kind of like this excitement and there's this a lot of like support and collaboration amongst those artists and kind of just like leveraging each other, you know, further along in our careers, which has been really nice. So yeah, I think just like radical support for the community and kind of just like lifting each other up, especially those marginalized voices, is just like been super instrumental in kind of like continuing and sustaining that that just like that feeling of excitement and kind of just like reclaiming of space, I would say, for POC in the New York nightlife scene, specifically in Brooklyn. So yeah.
Cool. And the way you navigate that, since I know you kind of like book for nowadays, and you also just as a DJ, I see collaborate with other DJs. How do you feel in that environment currently in the scene?
You mean
as someone as a collaborator and someone as an artist? I guess that's kind of like separate, but also could be similar.
Yeah, I think that you know, my ethos is consistent across my work with nowadays and just like my work as an artist. Like I said, I'm just like passionate about kind of just putting people on and lifting people up and giving people opportunities where they may not necessarily have had those opportunities prior. Even myself personally, prior to the pandemic, I had gone to Nowadays, but I had never played there. And it wasn't a place that I frequented, to be honest. And so that's been really central to the work that I do there. And I think that, you know, I started there in July of 2021. And I think there's been quite a noticeable change in the environment at the club, like not only just the music, but like the atmosphere, the crowd, the people that are coming out, the people that feel safe to come out there now. So I just, you know, I think that that's like super important and central and necessary, honestly, to kind of just like support each other like radically.
Yeah.
And pivotal to our overall success as POC in this space. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing to be in that kind of like moment, like you said, in that renaissance, which I've heard a lot of times. And as well for MANIIA and Black Moonchild, how do y'all feel in your I'm assuming it's different. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very positive outlook on like what's going on up there, and that's crazy because I just played at Moodering in Brooklyn this past weekend.
I saw that.
I know exactly what she's talking about too. Like even just from that brief period that I was there, that shit was good. Like I really enjoyed like the diversity and what they had going on up there, and like POC, LGBTQ community, like all kind. Like it was a good mix here. But like to go off of what she's saying, like basically here, it's like half and half. It's kind of the same way here. We, after COVID and stuff, I feel like a partial piece of that renaissance because like I see a lot more people of color getting booked, like especially in Nashville. Like, you know, we're in the South, but I see a lot more people get booked here. And I see a lot of people given a lot more opportunities. But from my personal experience and like what I've seen other like kind of like I guess like DJs that are still trying to get themselves established, there is still a very very cliquey, not really wanting to see somebody else succeed, but claim you're for the people. Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of claim, a lot of front, but they don't really actually mean that. And it's always been something that irritated me, but it's getting better since after the pandemic. This has been a problem since before the pandemic, since like years of when I started. Like, I went on a whole rant about how a while ago I wasn't getting booked to play in Nashville because my music was too urban or too raunchy or too fast, like all these all these excuses they were giving me. And it's just crazy to me because it's like kind of contradicting to them as well, because the same type of shit that they complain about is the same thing that white people indulge themselves in. So it just doesn't make sense. Like, it's like, so would you rather have a white person do these things instead of a black person, or, you know, but just stuff like that. But aside from all that, though, with that still going on, with it still being cliquey, the people that have money and power here, all kinds of stuff like that, because it's like that in the scene. Like, the scene here is based off of how much money are you willing to put in your event, how diverse is your crowd, because, you know, each specific thing is bringing like a niche type of person to like each thing. But I'm speaking for Terminal 8, we try and bring that like underground electronic music level of like, you know, bringing like underground artists like, you know, Swisha or Kush or Leon's, like all these different types of people, to bring them here and give the South something that they don't get to experience because of the predicament that I was just explaining. And us trying to combat that is, you know, just give like a more open space, like not make it feel so cliquey, because I'm not just talking on my ass here either. Like, other people feel the same way about this. And it's just an ongoing problem. I've had like my talks with people before. They've claimed like, oh yeah, like, you know, like that's messed up. Like, you know, we need to do something about that. I'm like, yeah, y'all been saying that like for a long time. And like, we still do our own thing. And like, you don't really uplift the scene, but you make the scene clicked, and you don't put people of color on, and you aren't elevating the music experience in Nashville. You're not giving people from the outside a reason to come here and see what we have going on, because we're staying very stagnant. There's no progression. And that's kind of just been my main thing right now with the scene. But I'm just very blessed to be part of a good collective, to like, where we can throw that and give us like, you know, throw different good experiences, have people come out and have a good time, and give us like, you know, playing out of state opportunities and stuff like that. But yeah, that's been our main thing right now. That's it. I feel like I've been talking too long.
Oh no, that's great. I managed to like connect with you through Terminal 8, and seeing all the things that you do in Nashville was really cool, and especially bringing out like the names that you said, like Leon's, Swisha, and Kush and everything. And also you brought out Elise too, so it was just like all these people and all the talent, and I was just like, and also the flyers were so unique, and I was like, damn, our
buddy Ross in Terminal 8, he actually does all of our graphic design work. So
wow.
Yeah, shouts out Ross too. He does all that crazy shit. Like,
yeah, and I think that's like what you're saying is really important in terms of like smaller cities and smaller scenes. I think like what your experience is something I feel like I experience in Columbus in terms of like elevating the music scene, and especially the underground music scene. And what does that mean? And how do you connect to like the people you want to play to, especially in terms of like, you know, yourself, and as well not being booked in the proper types of quote unquote categories. And talking about like party series, like for Blueprint, which I went out into Detroit like in November, where I saw JADALAREIGN for the first time, which was amazing. How do you feel, Janessa, Black Moonchild, in terms of Detroit and the scene in Detroit, with y'all kind of like working inside of like that history and also in the present moment?
Wow. I love being here in Detroit. I don't think that there is a better place for a DJ that wants to immerse themselves in like techno than here in Detroit. With that being said, me being a femme, it is very male dominated. The techno scene is very like, we always have cherished the underground, like the underground lives here. but it is very male dominated. So finding my way as a DJ who loves techno it's been pretty hard. And that's why curating a space for Black femmes who want to play techno, want to come to Detroit was so important to me, because I realized that we all need a space to come and enjoy this music and not be bombarded by men who, you know, quite frankly, in my 4 years as being a DJ, you know, I've had men who just kind of feel like me and my homegirls should not be in the space. Like, for whatever reasons, we're a woman, we're Black, whatever, they deserve to be the techno DJ here. You know, it's like, and so they bring that energy to whatever space they come to. And I just wanted that to not exist in my space, you know? And it was just a need that I saw. Like, a lot of girls, we, you know, women live here. We love Detroit techno. We grew up on this music. We are here. We exist too. We deserve a space to listen to the music that we love and not be, you know, feeling away. So that's why it was so important for me to make Blueprint happen. It was always a dream of mine to do.
That's a word. It's just like from everyone making the work happen in y'all spaces in terms of like this moment, especially in terms of like what is a party, and that can be like an open-ended question as we kind of like move towards like geography, which is like a different types of way that space can be made. But yeah, like I think about intentionally crafting parties is so important, and I had no training when I started doing it after COVID, and I was really shocked and surprised that it really is hard, especially when it's like the people that you want to show up and you want to support and you want to make sure they have resources and they feel fine at the party versus like what actually is the mainstream in your city. But yeah, I don't know if anyone also have like other comments or questions as well in terms of like crafting or like throwing your own party, and how do you feel like doing that labor and like your city, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to go. Oh yeah.
Yay.
Everyone started to bring it up, and that was what we were going to talk about next. Is like,
Yeah,
I think everyone here has has thrown a party before. What's like your mental or literal like toolkit that you have when you're doing this? What are all the things you keep in mind? What are the must-haves? What are the challenges? Like, let's hear it. We kind of already heard a lot of challenges, but
I'll jump in here.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of elements to consider when you're throwing a party. And there's like elements that you can't even anticipate ahead of time. You kind of just have to be ready to deal with shit as it comes. But I think like first and foremost, you have to determine your location. And then like depending where you are geographically, you have different options available to you, whether that's a bar or a small club or a larger club or like a venue space, like a warehouse or something of that nature. And I think, you know, depending on the promoter or who's throwing the party, it's really important to like consider what your goals are with your party, who your audience is, who you're catering to, and what type of space makes the most sense for your party. And I think another thing that's like tied directly into the location is finances. So like budget is a huge consideration. And I think that's tied to location because depending on certain types of spaces, they may have budget to offer you to work with. And then in other situations, you're taking on all the risk yourself. So like if you're renting a warehouse space or something of that nature, you would take on 100% of the risk. You're paying the rental fee for the space because those types of spaces don't have regular traffic coming through them. That's why, you know, especially if you're starting out, it's better to work with an establishment that has a bit of foot traffic, that has budget that they can offer you, because there's a lot less risk there, which is good when you're starting out building a party. But yeah, budget is a huge thing because you're not just paying DJs. There are other things to consider, like promotional tools. So like having a flyer made, and whether you want to have like just a grid flyer or a story flyer or an animated flyer, there's like unlimited ways to get creative with your promotional tools. But all of that stuff costs money. So that's something that you have to budget for. Marketing, you know, like doing promoted ads on Instagram or whatever. Merch. There's lots of things to consider. And then like my personal favorite part of doing a party is the curation. I think like curation sets the tone for everything else. Like if you have good curation, it's like the flyer can be shit. There doesn't really need to be too much online promotion because people are going to spread the word and people are going to talk about it and people are going to show up and people are going to come and have a good time. And yeah, you can just get really creative with curation and it's like just super fun. I'm sure I'm missing some things. Oh, well, another thing that is super important, which I think has grown in importance overall in nightlife since things have opened back up, but like safe space. So like ensuring that your party is as safe for your attendees as possible, whether that's like hiring security or having like safer space monitors, which we have it nowadays. People that are like thinking about harm reduction and all of these things. It's like, I think that's another thing too that I didn't mention earlier is like, there's just, it seems like there's a heightened awareness around nightlife now and like, you know, harm reduction and like how to deal with people that are on drugs and it becomes an issue or, you know, dealing with violence in the nightlife space. I think that there's been like a much more heightened awareness since we're coming out of the pandemic. So yeah, there's just like a whole bunch of things to consider when you're doing a party. Another thing is like ticketing, like how you want to sell your tickets and, but yeah, sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. If there's anything I missed. I think those are like the big things though, when planning a party is like location, budget, promotion, curation, making it as safe as possible, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And that wasn't too much. Like there's literally so much to think about. And especially people starting out. Like, I mean, Reg and I could probably attest, like, we're lucky that I think a lot of people share stuff on the internet, especially Twitter. And I think we've just been studying like other people's moves, but there can be so many missing pieces and shit can really go wrong. But anyways, Montez, are you ready to share? I see your
yeah. She really hit it on every point with that one. That like made me think like I was like, yep. That's literally that's everything. But like I want to elaborate more on the curation part for sure though, because like like that really can like how I was telling you about like the scene here, like bouncing back to what I said earlier about like the way they curate their events. It's curated to a very specific crowd. And I guess like my main goal with any type of curation is to make sure that it's accessible and open for anybody to feel welcome there and not feel like, you know, you're in a lower class system than these people, or I don't know what these people are going to think of me, like when I pull up type shit. And like, that's like very important to me because I've not gone to a lot of events because I felt, you know, unwelcome. Like I felt like I wasn't, like I didn't belong there. And that's kind of where they fuck up, number one, when it's like that. It's like, oh, well, if it feels like this, then like this event already sucks. Like, yeah, you know, if you're really, especially if you're really for the culture and stuff like that. But yeah, like on like the basics with stuff like that, like with ticketing and money. And I think my biggest lesson that I've learned, especially from all the years, is it's okay to take losses with it. Like, you will take losses. Like, it's not like like you'll never have a loss. Like, no, there will be some loss, to some sacrifice, to some degree. It doesn't have to be like crazy, but there will always be like some cut that'll, and I see a lot of people get insecure about it, or like they feel like they did something wrong and all this other shit. But, to make something happen, like, sometimes that stuff needs to happen. Like, you need to pay your artists. You need to, have somebody at the door. You need to have the lights, sound, whatever ready. Because here we don't really have access to clubs and stuff that have like all that stuff. So we bring in the lights, we bring in the sound, we pay the artists, we like fly the artists out. Like we're doing everything. The only thing we're doing is like she said, location. We're renting that one spot, and then we're paying for everything that's about to be inside of that one spot, because there's nothing there. So it's literally just a warehouse. But yeah, just like stuff like that, and just be prepared to just like, and that doesn't have to go, I guess, for anywhere. Like, it's, it's a blessing, or it's great to have all that shit already packed in, and where you just have to worry about the venue and ticket sales and paying the artist. But if you're worried about paying everything else, it's just like, you're paying for the experience. We're paying for the quality assurance of the event. I don't even know if I'm using that term correctly, but the quality of the event needs to be correct. So it's okay to hash out all that money to make that experience great, and not make it the exclusive, weird kind of.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah, but just by throwing events in Columbus, and I guess like another big thing for me is like sometimes in these like situations where you're renting out the space, or you're making a contract with somebody, then you have to hire everybody. I am crazy, so I have Excel sheets like, oh, here's your hours, blah 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 blah. So that way it's organized. But I think big thing is organization. I think sometimes when I didn't realize how much, like, I'm not really into administrative work, but I like do it somewhat. I didn't realize like, oh, this literally is like, you need to be on your P's and Q's. And also at the end of the day, like I find like community members who are like super helpful in Columbus that like reach out and be like, oh, like I can cover the door like through like this community organization. It's just like, oh, okay. Like I didn't realize like sometimes too, like sometimes, yes, like you do have to pay for them depending on like the months. And then sometimes random people out of kindness, but also just being in community can help out. But I don't know how it's like for you as well, Black young child, and like since it's kind of like both or either or not at all.
I would say I've learned so much just in throwing these parties. It's, I think me and AK were always just like, this is something that we want to do. We're always really enthusiastic. We feed off of each other. She's like, let's do this. I'm like, let's do it. And that's why I'm so grateful for Crystal, because she is like the ground, like she grounds us. She's like, okay, well, I know you guys want to do this. You have all these ideas, but this is what we actually need to do to make sure this stuff actually happens. And so like, I think me and AK are very good about curation. Like we know who we want to come. We know who we want, who we want to pay, what the flyer wants to look like. We know about those things. But when it comes down to like paying and doing those type of things, these are the things that I didn't necessarily think about, like all the little costs. These are the things I didn't think about when starting parties. I'm like, dang, we got to pay for that. Dang, we got to pay for that. We got to ask so-and-so if we can do that. Like I didn't think about that. I think you just show up, you pay your people to come, you throw a party and then it's over. But I've learned so much. And I would say a lot, it goes a long way to just be kind to guests. Like I know this is like a given, but I've gone to parties where I've seen people like you've paid all this money to send this person out here, and you don't talk to the person, you don't make sure they're comfortable, you don't go that extra mile to make sure your guests are taken care of. It's like that goes a long way, so I'm sure I'm leaving out some things, but yeah, I think I just wanted to make that point.
Thanks so much for that. How, like, when you all threw your first party, what were like the things on your mind? Like, I think I've gone through these phases where sometimes I'm kind of just like, oh, we need to book so and so, we need to invest in so and so, so like so many people show up. Like, were you guys having like similar thoughts as baby DJs starting out?
Yeah. 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 Our first like, oh my God, was Jada, of course. That was our first like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know, like we sat on that for months, and like when we dropped the flyer, we were just like, yeah, motherfuckers, we playing with Jada, right? You know, it was a big deal, you know. The first party was very successful. Like our first party, we like Jada said, we came in with an establishment that gets, you know, foot traffic. It was in the middle of the summer, so we had a lot of outside people came from that we know. But it was a little hectic. I had an Allen Heath mixer. I cried in the middle of my sex because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm sure there's footage somewhere of me crying while I was playing. I had the stink face and I was crying during the whole set. So,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, as a baby DJ, yeah, I don't know. You do get excited, and then you just, I don't know. The excitement never goes away, I would say.
I think also it's just like a lot of nerves in general because you want the party to go well, but like especially with making your sales goals. I remember prior to the pandemic, myself and another DJ, we had this party that we were building over time with different venues. And, you know, as we were growing, we wanted to like work with a club that aligned more with our vision for the party and our ethos and the crowd that we were trying to cultivate, which was Good Room. And at the time, this is before the pandemic, so Good Room, the programming was a lot different. Like we were one of the only promoters that were like 2 Black femme DJs. You know what I mean? Like most of the people that they were booking were bigger, cis male white DJs. And it was like a lot of in-house curation. So when we brought our party there and they gave us they took a chance on us and gave us a date. The way that it worked there was they were giving us a door deal. So it's like, you know, we promote the event, we sell all of our own tickets, and then we keep like the pre-sales and whatever we make at the door, and then they keep the bar and they cover the expenses. So there's, you know, when it's on you to bring people out as the promoter and there's not necessarily like established foot traffic, sometimes like when you're working with bigger clubs and they want to give you a chance, but they don't want to take too much risk, they'll give you like a weeknight or like an off night, and they'll do a deal like that where it's like they keep the bar and they give you the door. But yeah, just like making sure you're making those goals and you're promising all these DJs a certain fee, but you have to make X amount of money to be able to pay all those fees and all that stuff. It's risky. And you see a lot of parties like start and then just like fall off because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of risk, and it takes commitment to build it into something viable and sustainable, you know? So absolutely. A lot of nerves and, you know, just like a lot of risk and anticipating that risk and being prepared to like have to pay some shit out of pocket and lose money and, you know, so yeah, you kind of got to be about that life as an event producer and just be ready for whatever, you know.
I'm so anxious that I'm always just like going into it. I need to know that I can afford it out of pocket just in case. Like if everything gets fucked up, I need to have have the money, because that is so much worse than not paying. Like a bigger name or someone you respect and just not paying them, it's like your career's fucked after that. And like also it's common decency. It's just decency, but like yeah. Montez, you have something to add? We also have 9 minutes left, so we can talk about this a little more and then kind of wrap up on some like future visioning.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything long, but I'm like agreeing with like them too. It's just like, yeah, like the biggest thing is like definitely the expenses, like meeting the quota, whatever, how many, you know, ticket sales, stuff like that. That's always like going to be something to think about in the back of your head. But yeah, you're right. Like a lot of it is some make or break. You have to really be like that. That just really comes back to what I was saying earlier. You be prepared to take that loss, that sacrifice. Like it really just it's very possible, and it's definitely happened to me. And it's like, yeah, it's shitty, but it's like that's low key the about that life part. I guess that like comes with it. I don't know. Like you just, it might happen. It's gonna happen. You're gonna lose something. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Like,
but the bigger risk you take, the bigger the reward you can get out of it.
Right.
Which is awesome, and it's like, you know, thrilling.
Yeah, it's a good gamble, especially like for the culture and shit. So like, you know, you're putting on like if the event's great and you're making a loss, it's a lot better like that, because we've had it like that where we just make just enough to where we break even, and it's like, okay, we broke even, that's great. It's like I don't give a fuck. Like that's
true. Yeah.
You're like
breaking even.
Right. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that though.
Cool. Perfect. And I guess in terms of like our last wrapping up questions, it kind of like goes into where you see the dance world going in the next couple of years. Is it going better? Is it regressing? And or additionally, how do you how would you like to see support in your own specific environments and geographies from like support of like the dance community, especially as you're like thinking about like, oh, where the dance music world is going the next couple of years. It seems like it's becoming inclusive in certain like cities, like and in different places. But where are we seeing the cross-city collaborations? Where are we building up together in these conversations? Not saying it's starting right now, but hey, but additionally kind of like thinking about like where do y'all see the dance music industry going? And then where would you like to see support in your own city and your own scene? So
I personally would just like to see Black people and people of color just like taking up space and, you know, kind of just like on this guerrilla tip of just like taking up space and reclaiming what's rightfully ours. And I feel like, you know, I can't speak for all of the US, but in New York, it just feels, like I said earlier, like a bit of a renaissance happening where there's so much good music being made by Black producers and POC producers and queer producers, queer and trans producers right now. And, you know, especially like this week with like all of the Drake and Beyonce talk about like making house music and stuff. I just hope that this continues to push the conversation forward and put, you know, Black people in positions to make art, sustain themselves off their art, and kind of just like reclaim the legacy, and just like restore that feeling of belonging, I guess, in an art form that is like rightfully ours, that we've kind of been gate kept from. Not even just in the past 20, 30 years with like the formation of house and techno, but like throughout history. So yeah, just more coming together, more collaborating, more of this like conversations amongst artists in different cities, and just maintaining those relationships and, you know, booking those artists and staying invested in each other's futures and supporting and, you know, kind of doing what we can to just like bring each other up would be awesome.
Yeah. To like bounce off of what you said for sure. The next couple of years, at least for here, I'm going to speak for Nashville specifically now, but there just needs to be more, like, again, like you said, like, yeah, opportunity given to people of color and more of a, like, that belonging, like, being felt in place, because like it's kind of fucked up to like like, again, like what I was saying earlier, hear a whole bunch of white people bite off of our culture, personality being driven off of our culture, but not give any opportunity to Black people for our culture. So it's kind of like, damn, like, you really just finna make me like out here beg to like play some urban raunchy shit for these white folk, and like, but when you play it, like, it's fine. Like, it just needs to be just more accountability for when people do shit like that, and just more open spaces, and just more just like, yeah, just having, I totally agree with that 100%. Just more people of color just in higher positions, and it not just be like white people with money dictating a whole bunch of shit going on. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So
Well,
not trying to make this like a white hate thing. I'm just saying, but like, that's
You're speaking facts. Nice.
You know?
It's true though.
it's facts. As far as here for Detroit in the next 10 years, I don't know what is going to happen. I feel like there will be a like resurgence of like appreciation for electronic music, which, you know, it's complicated because I've been a DJ for 4 years. Me and my girls all share the same sentiments of like being somewhat like underappreciated for what we were doing for so long. I can't even count the amount of like POC or Black people who have come up to me over the years and been like, you know, this, or like accused me of playing like white music or things like that, and not understanding like the history of this music. So on that end, I am very optimistic, happy, you know, to see what's going to happen. You know, I can't even shit on Drake and Beyonce in this conversation. I really can't, you know. So I think with that happening, I think there will be an uptick in appreciation for the music, and for that I can be happy for. Whatever else comes with that, I don't know, you know, but all I hope is whatever comes with that is that the people, the pioneers, the people that I look up to, Ash Loren, AM, those people, they get the recognition that they deserve. That's all I hope happens with this. So, but as far as like MySpace and the blueprint and things like that, I think everything that's been going on has just been more than I could even dream about, you know, like, I just hope to keep doing this. I hope to bring more people out and just like continue to uplift each other, like Jada said. So that's the plan.
Great. Perfect. I'm so thankful for all of you to be participating in this conversation. It's more than what we could have thought would happen, because people could have said no and we didn't have the conversation, you know, y'all could have said no, but I'm glad you didn't. And and as well, I'm glad that, like, again, like what Black Moonchild said in terms of like supporting each other, and as well, like Jada and also MANIIA, just like I'll be tapped into y'all's Instagrams and y'all's like support. And, you know, I'm like love seeing everyone just getting their like dues and like getting their like playing in different places and just being able to experience like more of their career. But additionally, you know, we're in Columbus, so yeah, if you ever come through, if you ever want to just hit us up, you know, I mean, I'm in Columbus, Nadia's in New York. If you're in New York, hit Nadia up. But if you're in Columbus, hit me up. You can hit Verge. You know, we'll hopefully make it a great time. And again, thank you for participating in DJ Social Club. And we're going to end out the night again, just kind of like centering the conversation on collaboration, putting marginalized people to the front, which means Black, people of color, and also queer people. And also that, like, even with the big risk, you can get big rewards and you can also have big losses. So stay sexy and have a great night.
I love that. You stay sexy too. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye. Have a good night.
Thank you.